Donald Trump, who joins us right now. He's got a new book out. It is called Crippled America. I believe it's a bestseller. Mr. Trump, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
I know last week when we talked to you, we were talking about how Starbucks decided not to go with any Christmas decorations, just a plain red cup. We just saw, this is brand new, out today. This is Dunkin' Donuts. As you can see, very Christmassy. It says joy right there. It's got evergreens and it's got some holiday festivity on there. I know last week you had suggested, well, you know, you had a big Starbucks in Trump Towers. Maybe people should think about a boycott or something like that. What do you think about this in Dunkin' Donuts?
Well, I don't see a Merry Christmas on it. Do they have Merry Christmas on it? I don't think so.
I'll write it with a Sharpie.
The beverage is extremely hot.
I think it would be nice if somebody put Merry Christmas on something, you know, like the old days, right? But they don't have Merry Christmas. They have joy, so that's wonderful. But I think they should put Merry Christmas on. Then I'll start going there and buying coffee there, even though I don't drink coffee.
You'll start. By the way, I understand yesterday you were up in New Hampshire at the Politics and Eggs breakfast in New Hampshire. It was the biggest crowd in their history. One of those things where they had to wind up getting a bigger hotel.
It was an amazing crowd and amazing people, and New Hampshire is an amazing place, and we had a great time. It was something special. It was wild. It was wild.
Well, on the heels of the debate, and everyone can't stop talking about what a great debate it was. Some are saying, Mr. Trump, that one of your sound bites here could not be the best news for you. We're going to play it for everybody at home, then we'll continue. Watch.
Wages too high. We're not going to be able to compete against the world. I hate to say it, but we have to leave it the way it is. People have to go out, they have to work really hard, and they have to get into that upper stratum.
Well, one Republican media consultant, Rick Wilson, said this about you, quote, if you find somebody who can move the Trump image from billionaire mogul with swagger and morph him into a heartless CEO jerk, this is a different race. So how do you avoid someone morphing you into a heartless CEO jerk when you're talking about wages having to stay the same in a time when populist candidates are on the move?
Well, I know this guy, and he's third rate. Let me just explain. That was on minimum wage, and it was how are we going to compete with other countries? Because when they were talking about increasing the minimum wage. And whether it's taxes or wages, if they're too high, we're not going to be able to compete with other countries. You know, it's no longer New York competing with Florida. It's now the United States competing with Asia and many other places. And if you start doing too much, one of the things is salaries and wages and the cost of goods. Another is taxes. Our taxes are so high in this country, and as you know, I've come up with a tax plan that's going to lower them greatly, and that's what I'm referring to, and anybody should be able to see that. It was very clear. And interestingly, this is the first time I've even heard, you know, you're saying about, you put a headline about Trump doubles down. It's the first time I've even heard about it. I just called in, and I'm hearing about it now for the first time, so obviously it can't be much of a story. But I'm talking about the fact that we have to keep competitive both in wages and, you know, the cost, and we also have to be competitive in taxes because our taxes are so high that we can't compete with other countries. I think that's pretty simple.
Absolutely, Mr. Trump. And there's no doubt the left would love to turn this campaign into one about class warfare, so they're looking for every piece of ammunition they could. Speaking of a class of folks
in America... Well, you know, one other thing. I mean, I wake up this morning, I read the Wall Street Journal, and TPP, I know it intimately, although it is 6,000 pages. It's a really bad trade deal. But they said that I said China was included in the deal at the debate. I didn't say that. I said China's going to come in through the back door. Right. So the Wall Street Journal, without calling or anything, wrote an incorrect editorial. All they had to do was call me. But it was so clear what I said at the debate. They're coming in through the back door, China, and they will. They'll come in through the back door after the deal is done, and as usual, take advantage of our country. So there's so much misinformation, but you would think that a paper like the Wall Street Journal would call for clarification, but they don't do that. They just write. Well, that's why they're not a respected paper too much anymore.
Well, speaking of misinformation, yesterday we talked to VA Secretary Bob McDonald, who says that the VA has improved and that we could call him if he needed help. So actually, earlier in the show,
because we were talking about Rob O'Neill, the guy who shot bin Laden, I had asked him for a text on what was going on, because I know he'd gone to the VA and he said that he went in for an MRI. Somebody stole his wallet while his dad was right there waiting for him. He talked about the doctors and the nurses are great. The administrators are terrible. They should all be fired. And he said it's like walking into a homeless shelter. And I told that to Secretary McDonald when he was on the program yesterday. He said, well, have him call me. Let me put up my cell phone is on the internet. So we tried calling him this morning, and this is what happened. Listen to this, Mr. Trump.
So Steve's going to actually call him right now.
Okay.
All right. Because he wants to hear about what's going on. So we're just going to get an update.
The mailbox belonging to
McDonald
is full and cannot accept new messages at this time. Please try again later.
Are you
Bye.
kidding me?
Just like the VA.
Well, we shouldn't be laughing, but we do. It's so bad. It's so bad and so sad. And the VA, the veterans are treated so horribly. You know, the illegal immigrants are treated better in many cases than our veterans. It's disgraceful.
Mr. Trump, would you keep Secretary McDonald, and if not, who would you put in charge of the VA?
Well, he hasn't done much of a job, and frankly, and I heard Hillary 2 weeks ago saying how great it is and how wonderful it is and the wonderful job they're doing, and it's overrated. The problems are overrated, but I travel all over the place, and you know, just in speaking with you guys, you know, it's one of my big subjects is the Veterans Administration. That's why, I mean, I've gotten to know so many veterans. Yesterday in New Hampshire, I was with a whole group of them, and it's very sad what's happening to the veterans. And then you'll have Hillary 2 weeks ago come out and say how wonderfully it's being run, and it's overrated. It's an overrated problem. Now, yesterday she changed. She said, oh, well, actually, we're going to do this and that. I mean, it is so sad. I will fix the Veterans Administration through great management. Mm-hmm. And also, I put a plan out where if they don't get the good treatment, they go to a doctor, we're going to pay the bill.
Do you have someone in mind that would lead that charge?
I would have somebody in mind. I actually have somebody I think that would be phenomenal. If in this case it's a he, if he would do it, I think it'd be phenomenal.
All right. Donald Trump, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Everybody, you know, there are a lot of people who write things out there, and it's great to have you on the show just to respond to some of the crazy things that they say, so we hear it directly from you.
You know, it'd be great if they'd call for clarification. It's so easy. I mean, you know, like the Wall Street Journal, all they have to do is call, but they don't call, they just write. You know, it's too bad. It's really a shame. But we will all survive, that I can tell you.
Well, Thank you for your time today, Mr. Trump.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.